So here's the board that we use for our long distance learning. The student can send up to 3 paintings per week. We put their reference next to their painting. Then I use program ArtRage and I repaint the student's painting, and then you can toggle back and forth. So this long distance learning is on Zoom, and we do that Monday and Tuesday, and we still have openings in our next session, which starts Monday. So I'm going to talk a little bit, excuse me, about what I'm making a change to the shadow on the house. I thought it was too dark, so I'm lightening it up because I'm relating it to the trees in the background. The trees in the background are much darker, so I'm making that change to the shadow of the house. And I also made the roof a little bit warmer. So I put the dark on the roof, the shadow of the roof. And I'm also making the house, the light part of the house, a little bit warmer and less green, so it separates better from all the trees around it. I have a little bit of red in that. So I'm only painting big shapes. I'm not getting into windows. I will later on in detail. I'm just trying to get the big shapes so that house separates from the background of green trees. So just big shapes. And you could see already the house has a lot of structure now. It's really separating from the background. The next thing is I'm making the the porch part is the shadow's a little bit warmer, a little bit darker. Has a little more red in it compared to the trees in the back, which are cooler. And then I put some warmth on that roof above the porch. But it's one big shape. And I completely filled in the shadow on the porch. Later on I'll put the doors in. So I'm going from one color note to the next. So I just put the white trim, which is actually a white, so it's not quite as red or pink as the house. So now I'm putting that bush in, which is darker and warmer than the house. So on all these bushes, I'm looking at them as a shadow and a light plane. And I'm not getting into little flowers or little details. But big shapes. So now I'm putting the grass in the foreground as a big shape. I'm going to put that whole thing in. I'm going to lighten up a little bit. So I'm putting the whole thing in as a big shape. Then I'm making the bush, breaking up into light and shadow. And that's what I say to people with trees. Don't get into the little leaves or detail. Just have it as a light plane and a shadow plane. And then relate the two, like the foreground bush is a little bit oranger than the green. And then I made that bush a little bit lighter than the grass. Then I put the shadow part of that in. But look at how, simple. The simpler you are with the start, the easier it is to get to a finish. If it's too detailed, you're going to be fighting. Like, see how now the house separates from the background? So now I'm putting in some green in the trees in the background. Well, actually, I'm putting purple in. Later on, I'll put the local color of green into that purple, and I'm making the trees back there a little bit darker. The shadow notes are a little bit darker. And then that tree in the foreground is going to be a little bit lighter, so it comes forward. And then I'm getting the building in the back is a light and a shadow. I'm putting that that side porch in, just simple, like a shadow and a light. That blue is the shadow underneath the porch. And now I'm putting in the some of the poles, and like I say, I'm not getting into a lot of detail. I have a light and a shadow. Putting some warmth into those back trees. I think later on I'm going to make them cooler because they're still a little bit too warm. Light and shadow, simple shapes. Because here, this is a very complicated subject matter. So it's, for me, it's trying to find those big notes. Now I'm putting this grass a little bit darker back there. And then I'm putting some of the green in the back too. Wait, I'll do that pretty soon, so that the porch separates from the back. Well, I guess I'm going to do those foreground trees first. I cooled that grass. I thought that grass was a little bit too warm, so I cooled it down. So even as I'm working, I'm, making changes. And I'm looking at the whole painting, relating everything to all the colors to one another. Light and shadow, light and shadow. So when I talk about light and shadow, the shadows are in a certain value range, 1 to 5, and the light planes are in another value range, 6 to 10. So I'm always keeping that in mind when I'm painting. Okay, so that's what the student sent me. And look at how I've got the effect of light. I'm actually painting the illusion of light on objects. So I'm not really copying the photo, I'm interpreting the photo. So I'm starting to put local color in the purple that I put down in the background. Then I'm going to make that light plane back there a little bit cooler. I think it was a little bit too warm. Because I'm relating it to the grass in the foreground. So that's my palette, customized palette on the lower right-hand corner. It's custom to the palette I actually have in real life. So I'm putting that cool green in the trees back there. Thought that was a little bit too cool, so I warmed it up a little bit. And then you can work on the shape of things, making the shape more interesting. What I say, if you can't improve on nature, just copy it. If you can improve, then improve on the shape and the design. Okay, so now I'm going to put the window in. So I'm going to put it in as a shadow. So there's the shadow part of the window. And even though it looks dark, the light part of the window is in light. So I'm going to make it lighter than it actually looks, so I get the illusion that that window's in light, that whole area is in light. If it was too dark, it would look like a hole in the painting. So see, now I'm putting in the shadow part of the white is bluer than the purple, and now I'm going to put in the white trim. I put the white trim in, and I'm putting windows on that also on the bottom there. So I have a shadow, and then I have a light plane. So everything agrees, those windows and light, and then now I'm putting in the door. I'm breaking up that big shape in the porch. So this is, I'm getting into detail now, but I'm trying to keep that first strong lay-in. That's what I got. This is what I've painted. So see how I'm creating the illusion of sunlight? Camera doesn't pick that up. So I'm not, like I say, I'm not copying the photograph. I'm bringing to the photograph what I've learned about painting on location over the years. So now I'm putting some blue in the sky. I started with the pink, but now I'm putting more of the local color. So like I say, we still have room in our next session. So in the description is a link to my website where you can sign up for classes. So here I'm putting some bushes in the background so that that side porch comes out. And I can toggle back and forth to show you what the student sent and what what I've painted. So I'm toggling back and forth. And then we send the student the changes so they can see what I've done.